Vice Chairman Powell to do the invocation, please.
If you so desire, pray with us, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the health and strength and opportunity of assembling here tonight for the purpose of conducting business in Person County. Thank you for that honor that we're here, and prayerfully we will do what's right for the people of our county and especially our children who are our future. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Please
And
rise
pledge
and
allegiance.
join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we have an informal comment period. Oh, yes, adjustment and discussion of the agenda. Is there any adjustments of the agenda? Got a motion on the table to approve the agenda as written. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, now let's get to informal comments. We have two people that signed up in keeping with our time limits, 5 minutes apiece. Miss Betty Blaylock, if you'll come to the podium and state your address and name, please.
Betty Blaylock at 144 Terza Ridge, Rougemont, North Carolina. Less than a mile from Death Row. And that's their new term for it. In fact, breakdown. I'm sorry because we had a funeral today for another one. East of the toxic waste. One of the two I told you about 3 or 4 months ago, the last time I was here, is already dead. She has a little grandchild that just won a top award in the county, educational award, grammar school, but she didn't live to see him get it. So, one more has been diagnosed since then, and he's died. We buried him today. I've just learned this week that another one on what I call Death Row down there is just being diagnosed. It is unreal, and nobody's doing anything about it. In the Mount Harmony, we've had 4 funerals in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And we've had 6 in the last few months. One of them was not due, I would say to that. We know that many toxins are there. We've just had a report about the rivers and the waters, and you know the history of Person County. You know it's the most polluted air county in the state. It may have dropped 1 to number 2 now, I'm not sure. But we also now suspect that toxic waste is being brought from the coast. We knew it was because I followed a truck in there and they came out of the coast. Last time I was up here, went home and I saw this huge, I'd never seen that one before. I followed it up in there and they're coming from the coast. A friend of mine who goes to help clean a friend's apartments down there just before the busy season saw a huge truck coming out from down there and something fell out of it from a flap. And apparently it was loaded too high or whatever. It was huge. So it stopped at it looked like a tire, but it wasn't a tire. So they stopped at a truck stop apparently. So they pulled in behind me and said, "What are you hauling? What is that? You know something fell out." We've got waste off ships, and they were in containers. Looked like a tire. It wasn't a tire. It was waste from ships. So who knows where it's coming from now? So they followed it to see where it would turn off. It kept coming past Raleigh. I don't know that it's coming there, but it may be one of those same trucks that I saw coming from the coast a few months ago. It's probably coming from China. I guess there's no tariff on toxic waste, is it? So something has to be done. And you're not listening. It's two of you are, but the rest of you, one of you is maybe listening, but you're trying to find things. If you take them to court, which you can do, and for everything they're bringing in here without counting it, you'll have enough money to do whatever you want in Person County. For the 22 years they've been here, 21 and a half. All the atrociousness, excuse me, I can't say that word very well. I used to could speak eloquently, but no more. I've been turned into a bitter woman. And I don't want to be that way. But every time I see one of those God-forsaken trucks coming in, it burns me to no end. I'm surprised I haven't had a heart attack. Maybe that's why God's leaving me here, I don't know. And I will fight till I die. And I may have to lay down in front of the trucks to stop it. But I'm sick of it. I'm sick of people dying of cancer in that community. And you can't go on another road in Person County that you have an 80% cancer rate like that. Some of them 2 and 3 kinds. You can't go, I guarantee you, I'll go look and I'll canvass the neighborhood if you can find one that has that rate down there. God help us, and I've got to leave. I'm very tired. We had to feed about 50 people at my church, so I got to go home and clean up.
Ms. Kay Allen.
I'm here this evening to speak on behalf of Person County Schools about the proposed lease of the old Helena facility. So if this is the time to go ahead and do that, I will, or if not, I can hold my comments until later if I'll have an opportunity to speak.
Just now.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
We have just received the facilities audit report and several options for us to consider. The old Helena is included as a possible swing or shift site if students need to be moved from their buildings due to construction and renovations. It may also be an option if additions cannot be done at the current Helena Elementary site. A committee is being formed which will include school and county government representatives to go through the reports and the options to determine what we can afford to do. Believe me, it's a very long and very costly list. We need to keep the old Helena facility as an option in our planning. House Bill 90 is looming with class size reductions, and many of our current classrooms are under DPI recommended sizes. Our schools will not have enough seats to meet class size mandates as early as 2021. In addition, there is a new subdivision that's just been approved in the Southern Attendance Zone, which will impact our schools and our ability to meet these House Bill 90 mandates. And as someone who lived it on a daily basis for a number of years, traffic at Helena Elementary is horrendous on a good day. That has been identified in the audit as a safety issue for our kids. He has recommended widening the access road and building an emergency access point we have tried to get for years. There will probably be no bus transportation provided for charter students. Adding additional vehicles and teenage drivers to the traffic mess will create a dangerous environment for anyone who tries to get to Helena. Also, parking at Old Helena is not sufficient for the number of students being proposed for the vocational school. Finally, I would like to add, our CTE results this year have showed tremendous improvement. We continue to offer expanded options to our middle and high school students. We can offer what our community needs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the discussion and adjustment or approval of the consent agenda. Do we have any comments, concerns, any adjustments? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion. Got a motion on the table to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussions? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, new business. Item number 5, lease agreement for Old Helena Old Helena School to Piedmont Charter Academy Public Charter School lease. Mr. Daniel.
Send around a copy of this presentation.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to come talk to you. Piedmont Career Academy is a proposed charter school, vocational themed charter school, to be open in August of 2020. And what you have in front of you there is a very brief rundown the basics of who we are, what we're about. Are we going to show that?
Yes.
This is,
He's gonna load it for you and you'll be able to advance.
okay.
Go wake him up.
Well, while we're waiting on that.
There you go. You're up now.
There we are. Where is it coming up at? Oh, right here. Here it is.
There you go.
All right, let me make sure I got this right.
Up, down.
Mm.
Is it on?
Am I doing it in the right direction?
That's it. Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you.
Piedmont Career Academy, you can read the mission statement there for yourself. But what we're talking about is producing career-focused and highly employable high school graduates. They'll be ready to go into college if they choose to do that, to prepare that way, or they begin successful careers right after high school. There are a number of reasons why we have those targeted students. Most of those reasons come from the fact that according to the UNC systems application acceptance and enrollment rates, less than half of our students that graduate from high school here in Person County, either in the Person County schools or at Roxborough Community School, actually go straight into four-year colleges and universities. With most of the jobs predicted by the Economic Development Commission going to be in the area of students who are going to need community college preparation and less than four-year college and university degrees, especially with the mega site coming in, which is likely to increase that number. These are the students that we're talking about trying to serve. Typically, they fall into three categories: those who want to go into trade schools or community college preparation, those who want to go straight into the military, and those who want to go straight into the workforce. Those are our targeted population, and that's who we're trying to serve. Am I pointing at you? These are the things that are important all over the country right now, and especially so here in Person County. Financial return from bachelor's degrees is softening. All of this stuff is available to you, really simple in terms of research. High-paid jobs are requiring shorter and less expensive training. Good jobs in skilled trades are going begging. Right now, the number of jobs that are available on the market all over North Carolina and here in Person County and in the Upper Piedmont are almost in the 80 and 90% in some areas for people without specific four-year university and college degrees. And career guidance, ever since I was a principal back in the 90s, has been in North Carolina has been focused on pushing people towards college. There was a reason for that, and that was because primarily in the middle and late 80s, North Carolina fell to the last spot in the nation in the SAT courses, and Governor Martin, who's governor at the time, along with Bob Etheridge, who was the Secretary of Public Education, made it an absolute must that we get more people into college, which was a good thing at the time. But since then, we've been focusing a lot on moving a lot of students into college and university preparation who've not ended up going into the jobs that they were expecting to go into, sometimes because those jobs weren't available. Person County has these things that are also part of the numbers we've already got. Higher percentages of residents with high school diplomas in some college and two-year associate's degrees, and significantly lower percentage of residents with bachelor's degrees or with postgraduate degrees. Again, the EDC reports from the last year or so, which are the ones I've been looking at, are saying that those trends are going to continue primarily. Our job growth and job prospects and requirements run towards a high percentage of the workers who won't require formal higher education to be employed or to maintain employment over the next decade or so. This is what we're going to create. These are the things, the three that you see on the left side there are proprietary programs that we're going to institute at PCA in order to focus our kids from the time they enter middle school in the 6th grade on career and workforce preparation guidance. Big picture learning is national in scope, and it has to do with focusing on student internships and job preparation work. PBL is project-based learning, which has been one of the highest rated curriculum and teaching performance jobs performance learning capabilities that's in the current research and education now. And advanced ed, which is probably I think it's the largest, if not the largest, then the second largest accreditation system in the country. The culture that we have is listed up there, those things that we're looking for, and the focus on RAISE leadership curriculum, which is respect, accountability, integrity, service, and excellence. Those things that you can see for yourself is what we're going to be offering for those kids and staff are going to be there. This is the RAISE student achievement system that was already listed. And those are the percentages that you see there when it's been implemented at schools across the country. Those percentages are the average percentages of gain in those areas, like being able to summarize and take notes and reinforce effect and provide recognition. Those things are listed up there for the students who've been involved in that curriculum. And that will be part of our program as well. Student achievement is a goal there. This is a sample snapshot of the kinds of things we're looking at. Up there on the top in the dark green, you see those are the career prep support systems. Every single student in the high school level will be in a student internship and a freshman career seminar, and in their freshman year, and seminars all the way through their 4 years in high school, along with internships every year. The credits that are offered in terms of electives for career prep occupational, that is a list that was gathered partly from the EDC report from last year this time, and also from some of the information that we got from student and parent surveys that went out last summer, and we're still collecting right now. Those are just some of them. That doesn't mean that's all that's going to be there. They'll be driven by the EDC reports and student and parent interest. This is educational attainment from the demographics that we've been able to put together. You can see where we fall in terms of what we have and what we need. And the concentrations in Person County are from the most recent EDC report. Those are actually the career clusters that they identify through there. So that's where those things are going to be. It's where those jobs are going to be coming to us. Enrollment forecast for us is 250 students in grades 6 through 12 the first year. We add the 11th grade in the second year, it'll be 300. 12th grade in the third year, and thereafter it'll be 350. And that's 50 students per grade level. And these students are going to be recruited from not only from Person County, but also from Caswell and Durham counties. We already have interest in those, and from people in those areas that are already contacting us about whether or not that school will be available, and of course it will be. Charter schools in North Carolina are available to all schools, all students who live in the state anywhere. And we expect to recruit heavily from Durham and Caswell counties as well. This is where we're reaching out. We have a brand new website that goes live, I believe, tomorrow. And we have a new Facebook page that goes live either tomorrow or the next day. And that's where you can find them if you're looking for them. So you've got that there in front of you. And that's the end of that presentation. I wanted to keep that brief for you. One of the things that it's important to note is that according to the fall application enrollment and acceptance rates, application acceptance and enrollment rates report from the UNC system, the latest numbers that we have are 2012. The 2013 numbers were just released, and I don't have those yet. But according to those numbers, less than half of those students in Person County, that's where we got that from, are enrolling in four-year colleges and universities. In the fall of 2012, there were only 72 students from Person County who actually enrolled in four-year colleges and universities in the UNC system in North Carolina. And we don't have information and can't get information without contacting every one of the 35 individual private schools about what their rates look like. But it's likely not to be more than what we've got in terms of the UNC system, which carries the lion's share of student enrollments for Person County. So that's what we're trying to do, and that's who we're trying to do it for. What we're asking for you to do is to consider leasing the school the old Helena school to us, because in this particular case, we already have identified through the county manager's office in 2012 that it was going to take a minimum of $2.1 million to renovate that school building. We're anticipating now in today's dollars, it's going to cost at least $3 million, probably a little bit more. We have access to that financing. That's financing that the county commissioners doesn't have to come up with if we do that. I sympathize with the Person County Schools in terms of the situation they're facing for facilities, and I understand why they would like to look at the Helena facility to do that. But the bottom line is, they're talking about millions of dollars in renovation. That building can't be used the way it is. It's got to be brought up to code, and it's got to be completely renovated in terms of ADA compliance and capability. There are a lot of things in there that are not going to be able to be accessible without spending a great deal of money to make them that way. We understand that, and we're not trying to compete with the Person County Schools. What we're trying to do is to offer an alternative for those students who are not being channeled into the kind of jobs that they're going to be able to find right here in Person County. The CTE scores at Person County, we celebrate with them. I'm glad to see that happen. I'm very proud of Person High School. I'm a product of Person High School. It was Person Senior High in those old days, a long time ago, 100 years ago or more, it seems like. And I'm very proud of what they've been able to do, but they are beholden to the programs and procedures that are handed down from Raleigh and Washington, which charter schools are free of, which we don't have to do. We can concentrate on the things that are happening right here in Person County. And that's what we're after doing, and especially for those kids who are not finding a lot of success in the regular systems that they're in now. And those are the ones that we would like to be able to serve. There are 3 other board members here tonight. Mr. Derek Sims, who's Vice Chairman, Ms. Dan Jeffers, who is the Secretary Treasurer, and Mr. Carl Winston Forsyth, who has left us and fled to Durham County where he lives now, but he's from here, and he's still with us in terms of working this out. So we appreciate the opportunity to present this to you, and if you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer those.
What type of lease are we being asked for?
When
We had originally discussed, just batting around, that the lease agreement would have to be agreed upon with us, number one, but that if it ever was never a charter school again, that it reverted back to Person County and its residents, taxpayers. I don't think we've ever gone to as far as to draw up a lease agreement. It's all open-ended. I think when Dr. Daniels and his team came last time, he was looking at getting his charter approved in the fall, I think, and having a facility was part of his checkoff list for getting that approval from the state charter. And as you know, it didn't pass the last time through, and one of the reasons that I remember discussing during the last time was we had a new school superintendent that they wanted an opportunity to look at their system and see how they could further utilize Helena School. And my understanding at the time was they would be back with us in about 2 months and let us know how they planned on utilizing it. And it's been almost a year now, and we haven't heard anything related to that property. And so I contacted Dr. Daniels again and wanted him to come before the board and discuss what his vision is and see if anyone was interested in helping them get to that vision.
My next question probably predates everybody on the board besides Jimmy. And of course Gordon, he likes to say he's new, but he's been around a while. What role did the Board of Commissioners play when Bethel Hill became a charter school, or even Roxbury Community School? Did we play any role at that time, the Board of Commissioners?
I'm gonna say
Not that
they
I'm
weren't
aware of.
county
They did it
owned
just
property.
before I got on the board, but from my understanding, that was transferred. There was an agreement made to transfer that straight from the Board of Education to Bethel Hill Charter School for a minimum amount. I don't know whether it was $1 or $5, ever what it was. I think that's the way they did that, but the county didn't ever get that property back. The schools kept it,
Okay.
and
So we had no part in it.
we didn't have any part in it at that time.
And the same with Roxbury Community School.
Yeah,
Is it
the
a
only
requirement to have a building to get your charter?
No, sir. You have to have a plan. We don't have to have the building secured yet.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest difference is we have the property. In the other 2 instances, we didn't have possession of the property. And I've been in Person County, with the exception of about 6 years all my life. And I don't remember anybody ever going to school out there, and that's just me personally. I didn't grow up on that end of the county. They could have been going to school there when I was smaller, but the property is going into disrepair. Here's an option for us to allow someone to utilize it, and as he said, spend his money to get it into a position where it can be used without the taxpayers having to foot the bill.
I think that school was used until 98 or 9, and then they put a new roof on it. They had a bond issue, and the bond issue did not pass. And put a new roof on the school, and then the Board of Commissioners turned around and borrowed the money to build a new Helena school, Storage Creek, and do some renovations on the rest of them. Borrowed a considerable amount of money. In fact, we just paid that off about 2 years ago. And we had a big debt. Our big debt service was on that money that we borrowed to do that after the bond issue didn't pass. So the Board of Commissioners borrowed the money and did that. So there was a reason that school stayed in as good a shape as it in. Sometime around 98 or 9, they had a new roof put on it. And so you know it's getting time to be looking at that again if it's been that long ago.
Given that there's no cap. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you
And that's
were
all right. No, well, I did want to say that was the elementary school until then. That was where my son went to elementary school. And he got out and went to Southern Junior High. But so that school was actually used up until the late 90s. And I did graduate there. I'm a day or two older than you, but I did graduate from elementary.
Well, and since you've been on the board, the schools actually transferred it back to the county.
Right, I know
At
that.
one time, they had possession of it and couldn't use it and didn't want to put in the funds to upfit it, and so
Right.
we
So we requested
have
for
had it since then.
We requested for it to come back to us. I remember that.
And one of the reasons we did that, I'm saying a whole lot, but giving you a little bit of history, but one of the reasons we did that, they tore the old high school down over here. They tore Allenville School, Mount Tursel School, Earl Mills School. Finally got around to Bushy Fork. So each school that was closed, it went out of service, and some of them, when they tore them down, this one over here across the street has some doggone good looking stuff in it when they demolished it. The structure itself wasn't really that bad. Kept the lunchroom down there, and that's what your building inspections and health, environmental health's in, and it actually served as a health department at one time. So, and the agricultural building down there is where your Board of Elections is at. So, some of these structures were not as in bad. I didn't feel like they were in as bad a shape as they were. But and I understand the schools needed to unload them somewhere because they were having to either upkeep them and not use them or do something with them. So, the board agreed to take Helena back. It was in such good shape after it had a new roof on it. And we've had lots of groups that looked at different things to be done down there, but nobody's ever quite got over the hump.
In a lease agreement like this, I don't know what the business model really is. Dr. Daniels said that he has funding without approval at this point from
We have
the state
access.
charter.
We have access to funding,
Access.
but it's dependent upon us getting the charter. And
Okay,
that funding can go towards renovation of that facility, or it could go towards another facility.
what happens if this fails to our lease agreement? What,
In the lease agreement, we would put in there that if it reverted back to the county and the taxpayers,
if, what?
if it fails, or if it doesn't get the charter.
Okay. So, Dr. Daniel, what do you propose in the way of improvements to the building then? I mean,
The only thing we've got right now is the 2012 report that came from the county manager's office, and they gave a detailed, excuse me, comprehensive report about the kinds of things that would need to be fixed in the main building, and the things that would need to be renovated, and the things that would need to be rebuilt. And we're using that. That's what we started with when we started putting that together last year, and we were just extrapolating that in terms of the additional money because of the extra time since 2012, that it's going to run us probably in the $3 million range. Could be a little bit more than that.
Any further questions about that?
What about the,
Comments?
yeah.
my question is the traffic impact along that road. Now,
What's the enrollment at Helena Elementary right now?
It's around 600.
600, so we're looking at additional 250 students on that. I mean, if you've got a child, and I've got many friends who pick up their kids, and there's always a long wait time, I'm worried about the traffic impact in that section as well.
I'll speak to that.
Sure.
The difference in that is that Helena is, and I'm sorry about sitting down and
Sure.
I have a back problem, that's why I'm on this thing. But the difference there is that Helena is an elementary school. And elementary schools typically run car lines where students are dropped off and picked up right there at the front door of the school. And that's the way it should be. But PCA will be a middle and high school, which means that our students don't have to be dropped off and picked up right at the very front door, especially in high school. And those students would not want to be dropped off and picked up right at the front door. There is going to be some parking issues, but it's not going to be an insurmountable issue because we've got parking in the front on both sides and partly around towards the back there around towards where the playground is. In addition to which, we're hoping that we'll be able to come up with an agreement with a church across the street where our high school students can park. And we only have, we're only projecting 100 students in the 11th and 12th grades, which is where your high school drivers come from. And not all of them drive, a lot of them ride with each other. We don't anticipate that being as big a problem as it could be, especially if we had the lower grades in there. So we think we can manage that.
What is the impact to the public park? I mean, obviously, we didn't have all these security issues and things that we're faced with now when it was operated as an elementary school. But we've got a public park right behind it. I mean, obviously, we're not going to limit that use during the day.
No,
That's right.
we won't limit it. We worked out last year when we were first talking about this, Mr. Aycock and Mr. Fashy and Mr. Hill and I met together and hammered out the proposed details of a shared use agreement for the gym and the ball fields and park area behind the school. And that would not, it would not restrict anybody's access to that, even during school hours.
Given that there's a no cap now on charters, what would be something that's holding you up from getting that charter other than the building? So I understood you correctly, you already applied, but you gotta do some other
We
things.
applied.
And you're applying again?
Right, we applied last year. We went to Raleigh and talked to the Charter Schools Advisory Board subcommittee that makes those recommendations. And they were impressed with our vision and impressed with our process and impressed with the application. What they didn't think they saw in the application was justification for an actual vocational school. And I will give you the exact words, the quotes burned in my memory, where the guy sat in the chairman of that subcommittee sat at a table just like this and said, but everybody wants the best for their kids, and that means going to college. Which, you know, the numbers that we have directly contradict, because so many of our kids do not go to college. And so they asked us to come back and beef up that section that shows where we've got that information from, what those numbers are. And we've got that campaign ongoing now, which is ongoing online and through Facebook and website now. That information's already coming in. We don't anticipate any problem at all showing that people in this area are gonna be interested in that kind of school. And that's all that was the only thing that held us up.
Well, I think this board, as well as the Board of Education, and I think most of their members are here today, but should be the child and education in Person County. Not so much a building, but the child and their future in the workforce, and that's the future of Person County. And some of the numbers that you gave a while ago were probably some that are a few years old. But I've looked at numbers from the 2017, 2018 school year at Person High School, and you talk about work readiness, or job readiness, job skills, whatever you like, but I do know from great experience the CTE program at the high school. Of the 2017 146 graduates at Person High School that particular year, a survey was done and contacted 97% of those kids the next year, which is 142 of those that graduated. And the resulting data showed that 64.8 were enrolled in post-secondary or advanced training. That's quite a significant number. 76.8% were either working full-time or part-time. That's what we're after. 3.4 were active military, and thank God for them. Person high school graduation rate in 2018, those numbers are going to be 87.7% that you read in the paper just this past week. And the goal for the coming year is 90%. And I think they're well underway to accomplishing that goal. And the CTE program graduates are well above 90%. I don't know that number, and some of the board members might, but I suspect it's 96, 97%, 98%. Those children involved in CTE training graduate high school. Shows a strong program. And of all those programs at the high school, I think there might be 12 CTE programs. They have task achievements that they must do. They call them credentials, but the old word is task. Task mastering. Of those 146 that graduated last year, they mastered 3,000 credentials, 3,000 tasks that are established by national guidelines, not by Raleigh. They meet national standards and certifications. And that to me is work readiness. Those children are prepared because they are certified programs. Again, those tasks and those credentials come from the national certifications. In addition to that, there are 9 additional programs at Piedmont Community College that readily accept, and it's an easy pathway for those graduates to advance right into advanced studies and training. And that too is really important. And some of you in this room know a little bit about what's going on with economic development in Person County. You know a little bit about how we are coordinating between Person High School, CTE programs, and Piedmont Community College, as well as 2 others in Virginia, to make them even more certified, if that's a good word or good term, but have credentialing beyond what we're talking about in Person County schools. Of course, none of our schools are perfect. Person High School is not. Your new school that you propose wouldn't be perfect either. But I think we in Person County are headed in the right direction. And so I see a duplication here of programs. I don't see a great deal of difference in what I see here on paper and what I know that's taking place in Person County schools. And what Person County schools needs is support. We don't need any less, we need more. So again, I think we're headed in the right direction with our students, and data such as I just quoted would, to me, prove that point.
Any further comments?
My issue isn't with the non-traditional public school, I guess is the politically correct term to use. My issue is the site. I think given the growth and some of the things that we may experience over the years, that I'm not so apt to give up any property on the southern end of the county where we have seen growth and where we anticipate further growth. And so that's my issue, and there is no precedence that the Board of Commissioners have gotten involved in forming these schools in the past. And so I wish you luck. I mean, I got no issue, but with the school, my issue is I don't think we need to give that property up. And we haven't been involved in forming these charters before.
I think there's a misconception. We're not involved in forming a charter. We're involved in a lease agreement, and we get rid of property. We sell property all the time, and this property happens to be in Person County taxpayers' hands, and trying to utilize it to the best benefit of the taxpayer and not looking at what may happen. I mean, we've been sitting here, I've been sitting here for 4 years and nothing's been come up for it. So it could be another 4 years before anything comes up. And so it's an opportunity to utilize a property that the county is not utilizing right now.
But I felt we were gonna do that, then the county would renovate the property and then charge fair market value for the square footage that they'll be renting in a lease. I don't think we're talking about something very minimum, because they will be taking, I guess, the upfit of that. But if we were getting to the issue of leasing land or leasing buildings, I would rather us renovate it and lease it for fair market value. But
Well, I see
that's
the,
not what we're discussing.
I see the importance and value of saving the building. I don't have any problem with that. I have a problem with duplication of programs and something we've already got, something that's a proven course of stay, but otherwise, I don't have a problem with saving the building. Options are what we're looking at. And about the school board not responding, they were waiting on an audit, and they had no control when that audit would come in. And if it took a year, then it took a year. So now that's in, and I don't know their plan. I really don't know. Dr. Allen mentioned something there, but so I don't know how that'll pan out. But it was really not through just ignoring it and not reporting or not asking. It was a matter of them not having their audit in. And now that they do, and that was just shared maybe the last meeting, is that correct? I mean, that was last week. So,
Further comments? Is there any interest in pursuing a lease agreement?
Not for me at this time.
All right, hearing no motions on the board, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Item number 6, resolution amending the Person County Economic Development Commission for a change in membership. Vice Chairman Powell.
I'm requesting that because as the EDC board has evolved and its involvement has changed in an effort to make it the most effective that it can be, the most workable it can be, we saw the need to add the superintendent of our public schools to that committee as an ex officio non-voting member. We would like that person to be there for their knowledge, not only with the school district and its functions, but also with past experience in another county with economic development where he was heavily involved, and which would coordinate very, very strong and very well with Dr. Senecal from PC. So I'm just asking that we make the superintendent of public schools a ex officio non-voting member of the EDC board.
How many are we up to now? This
That
makes what?
14, you have 9 official members and then 5 non-voting members. This would be your 5th non-voting member.
Has this already gone to your EDC boards? Is something they were discussed? I know last time when the mayor came in, you had the chairman, and it was something I guess y'all already discussed with the EDC board.
That is a recommendation. I'm following their wishes.
Gotcha. Move for approval.
All right, we got a motion on the table to approve or make a resolution amending the Person County Economic Development Commission for the change in membership for the Person County schools to have a non-voting ex officio member. Is there any further discussion?
What, did you specifically request that it be the superintendent?
Yes, it is the superintendent. So I would amend.
So let me ask you a
What I
question
said
then. Since
earlier.
Jimmy said that, for community college, you have a representative, so I guess it's up to the president, whoever. Do we want to give him that leeway if he can't serve, or would like to just have a representative from
No.
the schools, or what? I meant an employee.
No, put the position in there.
The position, I think, is because it would coincide with the PCC president.
And the president, the president doesn't, she's actually, she's
It's-
just a PCC, I
Mhm.
mean,
She's-
it's a delegate from PCC instead
That's
of
right.
naming the president of PCC, but she serves in that capacity.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know there's been precedents before, where at one time, I think the chamber had a representative on that board, and the outgoing president wished to stay on the board, so I'm fine with that, because I think there's been precedent set with that as well. So if you wanted to say,
Just a representative.
A representative of Person County Schools.
And the school superintendent chooses that representative.
By the school superintendent. Did you get that, Brenda? Are you okay with that?
I wanna hear
I
that.
didn't make the motion now. You gotta talk to the person who made the motion. Did I support, you made the motion. Did I make the motion?
You made the motion.
You and I sound alike.
Mr. Jeffers made the motion.
I hadn't said a word.
I want to make sure it's a school employee now. I don't want it to be whoever I don't want it to be the superintendent's,
Nephew?
person from the
Yes,
round table for the
superintendent or
schools or
his
whoever,
designee.
but I want it to be a school employee. Now, if we're understanding that, and that's on the record, then I'm fine with having to say representative.
So the superintendent or a employee designee of Person County Schools?
Yes. I guess I'm the only one making motions all day today, so I'm gonna be quiet next week.
Just for clarity, are you saying that you want the superintendent to make the designation?
The superintendent or his
Or
designee.
designee.
Do you want, who is the appointing authority? The superintendent?
Superintendent.
Mhm.
So it's the superintendent or his designee who must be an employee of the school.
Mhm.
That's
Correct.
correct.
Does that rule out a board member?
It would,
Yes.
if that's what you want.
Look, we changed this. We changed it one time, and I'm gonna say y'all, but y'all changed it because you wanted it smaller. We're already up to 14. Now I'm fine with it being,
Than we've ever been.
so
We're doing more than we ever
the
have to.
intent was superintendent. I would say it's designee. I mean, you have representative of Piedmont Community College. I don't know if that says to me it has to be
Dr. Senecal?
a employee or Dr. Senegal, or it could be a trustee member. I just don't want that representative to be handpicked in the community and either not a board member or not an employee. That's what I'm after. I don't want to have any loopholes in there.
I think it's pretty airtight.
That's what you want.
All right, we have a motion.
What do
on-
we got now?
So
a
the representative of Person County Schools, we understand that could be a board member, superintendent, or an employee, and that's it. Is that what I'm understanding?
Designated by the superintendent. All right, everybody got it straight? Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, Mr. Jones.
Good evening.
Good evening. Everybody loves the tax man.
Some loves them more than
Tax man
others.
coming.
I'd like to present the tax collector settlement for 2017. We normally try to do this in the month of July. You had your first meeting in July very early. We were still counting money when the agenda was due for that meeting, so we're not able to see it in July. Second meeting, of course, was canceled, and we normally try to do this at the day meeting. Didn't want any more time to lapse before I got a chance to talk to you. So the 2017 tax collector settlement, which is your FY18, the calendar year, fiscal year that started July 2017 and ended June 30. So you wonder what a tax collector settlement is and why I'm even here. So actually, the tax settlement is required by general statute. So that's the reason we're here to say this is what we did this year, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the collector settlement is a performance of the entire staff, not just my collectors. You can imagine a real estate appraisal office or my personal property, business property, my mapping, and the collectors all have to work together to be able to produce a bill that is collectible, a bill that the public can understand. Without all the staff, we would not collect nowhere near the money we do collect. And also, we have to thank the staff for working with the public, and the public does a great job of paying their taxes. We start off with over 90% of the people paying before the taxes even pass due. That narrows down the people we have to work with forced collections to a much smaller, manageable number. So the numbers to look at, and I did appreciate the time I had this past month and to get my slides changed. You've seen the same slides from me for probably the last 5 or 6 years, so these are some different slides, hopefully a little easier to follow. So I broke it down in 3 different categories, and these are the major categories. So we're looking at real and personal property. We're looking at public service, which is your public utilities, state appraised properties like your power companies, your public gas. And we're looking at motor vehicles, and that's separated to a different category because it's now collected by DMV. I broke different collection rates down for each one of those categories, and you can see the real personal property, that's money that actually comes in through the county tax office front door. We collected all but $378,000 of that, giving us a 98.37 collection rate. Public service for Person County is a very large part of our tax base. It's in a little bit around 22% of the total taxes, $6.2 million, and we've had a 100% collection rate on that. It ends up being about 50 different bills, so it's not uncommon to see that public service does pay 100%. Motor vehicles, when this first came out, everyone's under the impression that motor vehicles would have a 100% collection rate. We've never had a 100% collection rate, and I'd like to explain why. People can write bad checks to DMV, and that's a minor part of it. DMV has this great collection tool. If you write them a bad check, they stop your driver's license services. So you can't renew anything in North Carolina, and other states work with them. So that makes your collection rate on motor vehicles very high. In addition to that, you also have what they call an LRP. It's a limited registration plate. So I'm buying a new vehicle, and I'm kind of tight on money, so the Car Dealers Association decided that may hurt their sales. So when you buy a new car, you can have 60 days to pay your taxes. So you get a T sticker. You may have seen those, a little orange sticker that goes in your metal plate, and that's your temporary sticker. And the 99.99%, while it's not 100, those people are probably paid in the next 30 days. So I would like to point out that probably is a 100% collection rate on the motor vehicles. So add all those together, and we average them out, and there's a weighted average. We end up with a 98.81% collection rate. The only thing we've excluded from that is $40,419 that we could not, I'm sorry, $21,642 we could not collect because of bankruptcy. Bankruptcy, either the actual part that's in the bankruptcy plan or people that are protected to post-petition. So they have to keep their bills after bankruptcy current, but if they don't do it, we can't touch them anyway. So $21,000 due to bankruptcy, and that is the normal. We haven't seen an increase in bankruptcy this year, actually maybe a little bit down. And just to give you some idea of what we've done, in the month of July, we collected $40,419 of that $381,000, which if we were reporting a collection rate today would be 98.94. So you see a collection rate continuing to go up. We've collected about 12% of what we left on the table June 30. And that just shows that you continue to collect money. So I want to compare those 5 categories, those 3 categories in a 5-year comparison. So you can see our best year ever. Public service has always been 100%. What the tax office collected on real and personal, 98.5 in 2016. We're down a little bit from that, and then motor vehicles have been rated at 99.99, 98. The first year of motor vehicles, 2014, 94.98. That is due to that's the year it came into play, so it's a partial year there. That number looks a little off, but it is running right at 100%. So I'll compare all this together, and we can see where we are for the last 5 years with the 98.81 for this year. And we talked about what we did collect. This is how we did it. So one of the biggest things we do is we advertise on a newspaper very early as the law allows, which is the first weekend in March. We send out delinquent notices before we advertise. So we go ahead and let people know that your taxes aren't paid. And that helps with escrow accounts. So if your bank was supposed to pay your taxes and for some reason they did not, and that could be because your loan was bought out, a new bank had it, they, for whatever reason, dismissed it. We're going to send out a delinquent notice to the taxpayer right away. to let them know, hey, your taxes aren't paid. We mailed 4,500 of those delinquent notices in January. And then we turn around under the order of the commissioners and we did advertisements in the paper. You'd think advertising in the paper really is not effective. But when I send the bills out, the first week or two after the bills go out, the main question is, what's the last day to pay before you put this in the paper? They don't mind the interest. They just don't want the name in the paper. So the earlier you advertise in the paper, the better off we're going to be, and Person County is always advertised early, and it reflects in our collection rate. Then the list gets a little more difficult as we go down. The garnishments, if you're not familiar with garnishments, that's where we can send you a certified letter, give you 10 days to pay in full, and any balance goes to your employer. And the employer takes 10% of your gross wages and submits that to pay your taxes. That is probably the least painful of the way to collect delinquent taxes. The next is a bank attachment. Bank attachment is a little more harsh. With the bank attachment, they're going to take all available funds out of your bank, savings, checking, whatever, to cover your taxes. So we try to go garnishment first. That is the least painful to the taxpayer. We also use sheets. Some people know that it's NC Cash. That's where you look and see if money's been turned over to the state because they couldn't find you. Actually, I found some money for myself from a move from years ago. I just got it last week. It wasn't much money, but we actually get money from deceased people. So death and taxes, we get money from people who have died. It's sheets, that's where some of that comes from. Debt set-off used to be a great tool when the state changed the way you did withholdings. Most of you probably have recognized that you get less of a state tax refund than you used to. So that's less money to grab. So you have to have more than $50. You can't submit it till it's more than 90 days past due, and you got some. By the time we get those ready to send to the state, you've already got your refund for this year, so that doesn't really help you with this year's collection. Payment arrangements, taxpayers, especially those on fixed income, are continuing to bring money to us in January and February and March, even before the bill's mailed out. They want to be on time, but they want to split that payment into 12 monthly payments, and we have a lot of people doing that. And then, of course, the last resort would be foreclosure. No one likes that word, but sometimes that's where we end up. And we talked about just collecting taxes, but we do a lot more than collect just taxes. You got to think about the tax bill prepayments, $163,000. And that's your seniors on fixed income. This year that was up, and that partly was due to people trying to double up on their deductions for their income taxes, because in 18 you may not be able to deduct it because of changes in the tax law. Our prior year's taxes, $340,000. We collected $5 million for the city. We collect some beer and wine license, grocery receipts, which is your short-term rentals on like a enterprise and things like that, stormwater, animal taxes. It shows all kinds of different things we collect there. Total collections, $37,677,000. So it's quite a big number that comes through our front door. Stormwater, for instance, we collected 96.96%. We left $8,400 uncollected there. And the city collection rate was 98.28%. And we left $77,000 uncollected for the city this year. This is probably my favorite slide. It shows what happened after 11 years. So 11 years from the past, 2007, you delivered actually to me to collect $26,856,000. And after working on that for 10 years and a little bit more, we had to write some of it off. And that's always going to be the case. We ended up writing off 405 bills. 45 of those are real estate. 393 of them are vehicle. And that's going to go away because now vehicles are being collected up front. But we ended up writing off 4 100ths of 1%, $11,684.61. That's what we will not collect. And this is the only thing we write off. Some counties write off things throughout the year. I know Durham County writes off vehicles if they're over 3 years old. We don't do that. We wait until we are barred from collection before we ask you to write it off. So that is a very good number. 4 100ths of 1% we don't collect. I'm very proud of that. This is not the tax collections report here, but just want to tell you what we've been up to other than collecting money. So we have a 2021 revaluation coming up. We haven't started working on that. However, we were required by the Department of Revenue to randomly sample our data. So we had to pick 1% of the properties, and we had to remeasure those houses from scratch as if we had never been there. and we had to verify how accurate we were. And if our accuracy was poor, we would be forced to remeasure every property in the county. And that would close to double your cost of revaluation. So I'm happy to report that on the main structures of the house, we were more than 99% accurate. You would think when you pull a measuring tape on a house, the next time you pull a measuring tape on the house, maybe 50 years later, it should be the same distance. And that was verified, and we were accurate there. The place we weren't as accurate is on decks and porches. Now, how many of your neighbors have added a deck to their house and didn't go to building inspections to do so? So we were 71% accurate there. None of your neighbors. Well, some people, you know, when you think about adding a deck or doing a deck, I'm gonna redo my deck because my boards are going bad, and I'm gonna make it just a little bit bigger. That does require a building permit. Some people don't do that. I don't think they're doing it intentionally, but that's where we suffer. So what we're gonna do this year, and this actually was included in our budget, we got a project called pictometry, and that does fly the county at a lower elevation, a better resolution. And using that, our new software will actually point out the ones that are not accurate. So we'll be able to focus on the ones that have that deck that we didn't know about. That will actually fix it so Person County does not have to remeasure every property in the county. So that was a very inexpensive solution. It also keeps everything equitable. What we want is everybody to pay their fair share. We don't want to overtax anybody, and we definitely don't want you who chose to get a permit to pay taxes on your addition, and your neighbor who chose not to have to pay taxes. So it's a very good tool to put in place. This year, we actually put out an important tax date postcard. So in the past, we just sent out a listing form out to people who were used to listing. And another recommendation from the Department of Revenue is everybody should get the courtesy of a reminder of listing every year. So in order to do that, we sent out 10,635 postcards that said, okay, you don't normally list taxes, but these are things you need to list. If you need a form, let us know. And on there, we also reminded the seniors and other people about certain discounts they get on their taxes. So it actually worked twofold. So we got some additional seniors getting the discount they deserve. And we also alerted people, hey, you need to list your taxes. Gap billing is something that you probably never heard of. And this is not going to be a huge increase in revenues. But what happens if you have a motor vehicle and you go to DMV and for whatever reason they change your expiration date, you may miss 1 or 2 months worth of taxes. So I used to, my tag expired in July. I went there and said I didn't renew my tag and I wasn't driving it, so can you give me a couple extra months? They will shift your expiration date 2 months. Well, what you actually have done, you missed 2 months of taxes. So we're required to start billing these. I didn't think it'd be many, but it's averaging 150 vehicles a month. So that's coming out in September. The bad part about it, these bills are tiny. Some of the bills are less than $5. So it's not going to be a huge revenue source. It's going to be a huge headache to explain, to get out there. So just so y'all know, when somebody says they got a bill from the tax office on motor vehicles, and they already paid the taxes on their motor vehicle, it's probably because their registration was changed by DMV. The DMV was flawed by changing some of these registrations because they started charging a late fee. So if you didn't renew tags on time, they had a $15, a $20, $25 late charge. So in order to appease the angry taxpayer and the driver in front of them, they said, we'll just change your registration date and that way you don't have to pay the penalty. Well, the offset of that was additional gaps in the taxes. So we've gotten a campaign out to the tag office. They understand that they should not do that. We're actually trying to get them to change it where they have to sign an affidavit verifying that the vehicle was not driven or not able to be driven, so they just can't change it arbitrarily. New software is another great thing we worked on this year. Thanks for the funding on that. We really didn't have any option. Software we had, the first software we ever bought in 1987. Talked to as many software companies and said, if you can give me software that lasts 30 years, I'll buy it. And no one could promise me 30 years. But we did find a company that's very good to work with. We soon will be deploying Surface Pros in the field. So we'll have a very small tablet type thing that you got in the field with all your data on it, and when the appraiser measures your house, it will show up on screen automatically. So very innovative, something very new for a county the size of Person County. only large counties ever are able to use that tool, so I'm looking forward to that. And the final thing we worked on this year, and this was a nightmare of a task, was fire tax. So we started off with a 80,000 name list, narrowed it down to 19,733, and we mailed these notices, and we had a public hearing and put it in place. Well, then we got the first month of motor vehicles from DMV, and they have to pay fire tax on those too. There's 3,200 vehicles in that, and they got 1,600 of them wrong. So that was going out in October. The only way they could explain it went wrong, because they tested and how the data we met, every deadline that was there early, that there must have been one extra space somewhere in that file, and the file was 8,000 lines long. So we went through on all 1,600 of those and fixed them. And we got them done before the October bills went out. They were actually mailed last week. So those are in place. This month, they did a little bit better. We had 120 errors instead of 1,600. So we're definitely moving in the right direction. New software allowed us to get our tax bills out earlier than we ever have. If you notice, they were a couple of days earlier than they normally are. We collected already for fire tax $13,172. Probably the most interesting complaints I had on fire tax was people saying, do we have employees that are working for the fire departments? And then one said, I thought they were volunteers, and one of my staff members said, well, they volunteer their time, but they don't bring a can of diesel fuel with them. So that was a good way of explaining that. They weren't being rude, but how else do you explain why we're funding fire departments? They're given their time. That's all we can expect from them. So I would entertain any questions. That is my settlement report. I think we had a great year. I do want to get 99% one day before I leave. Staff want it just as bad as I do. So I think we're on the right path to get there.
Yeah, I commend you and your staff. Y'all have done a great job. It's hard to say you enjoy it, but I enjoyed getting my tax bill this year with the different things written on it that we were utilizing our taxes for. And that was real nice to see what general services was being used and what we were using for fire services and things like that. So thank you for that.
I cannot take credit for the tax insert, we call it. That's actually done by Assistant County Manager Sybil Tate this year. Intern's done it in the past. This year I actually heard more compliments in the past, mainly because I guess Sybil did a better job than our interns did. It did turn out very nice though.
The only thing I was going to add with that, and as I had mentioned it to you, under the Health and Human Services, you had like a little bullet or right in the same block that said federal and state, how much that was. And I thought under public schools it should show the percentage of that of the tax of the
local
tax the
property
tax that we
dollar.
collect. What percentage of that is that?
Okay.
Because it's listed like third, but I think if you look
So
at
Sybil next
just
year.
what we fund totally out of the
General
property
fund.
tax fund,
I
the
got
percentage of the property tax. I thought that would be a
Okay.
good bullet to put in there so they
That's
can see
helpful.
that.
Thank you for the feedback.
We're always looking for ideas on that one. The tax insert, we all know it's something needed, and the very last minute we think about, who's going to do that this year? Sybil took it this year and ran with it and did a great job with it.
And the
but
same thing
any
with the
ideas?
Article 42 and 3, that comes from the state. It doesn't come from the county, but it shows up in the county line. Did I?
Any more
We
questions,
better
comments?
get back.
Motion to accept the report.
We got a motion on the table to accept the report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
The report to collect will be as long as you.
It was that long-winded. Usually I talk so fast, I think I'm done before I even get started. The
Item number 8, order to collect tax.
Order-
So moved.
if you like my staff collecting taxes, want to have me in charge of that, order me to collect taxes. I can't do it without an order.
Move to collect taxes.
All right, we got a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you, Russell. Good job.
Thank you, Russell.
Very good, very good.
Item number 9, appointments to boards and committees. Ms. Reeves.
Gentlemen, in your packet, you had an abstract illustrating some requested nomination and appointment from interested citizens who have submitted applications for current vacancies. The first one we'll talk about is the Environmental Issues Advisory Committee. We have 4 townships that have been lacking a representation. Cheryl Allen has requested appointment to represent the Roxborough Township. What is the desire of the board?
Move for approval.
Got a motion on the table to approve or any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
The next one is the Cartar Regional Council of Government Board. Commissioner Clayton had asked that, that our newly appointed alternate member, Ms. Trico Lee Jeffers, who was recently appointed at the June meeting, be moved to a board seat. We just had a resignation of a member who had been with us for a number of years, Ms. Connie White, had resigned by letter. So we are requesting your consideration to move Ms. Trico Lee Jeffers to that voting seat, representing Person County.
Move for approval.
Got a motion on the table to approve. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
I started there.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is the Person Area Transportation System Board. We have had a few vacancies on that as well, and recently we had asked members from the Economic Development Commission to see if there was a volunteer to serve in that capacity to represent on that PATS board for the Economic Development seat. Mr. Charles Derrick Sims, a member of EDC, has requested to and volunteer to serve in that capacity.
It's a pleasure of the board.
Put Sims back on it.
All right, got a motion to approve Charles Derrick Sims. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And the last one for this evening is the Workforce Development Board. We have 2 vacancies representing business reps, and Ms. Tanya R. Wilson has requested reappointment. She has previously served, although not immediately, but she has served on that board. And also Stacy Donovan Hill is requesting appointment on those vacancies.
Move for approval for both.
Got a motion on the table to approve both. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Ms. York, item number 10, submission of the legislative goals for North Carolina Association of County Commissioners.
Yes, they are soliciting proposals from all 100 counties for their legislative goals process. These are due to them September 21st. And so with direction from you all, I'd be happy to begin the work to submit legislative goals. They're adopted in January, so it's quite a lengthy process, but we need to get them in if we have one from Person County. And just to jog your memory, we talked about the need for some legislative authority related to broadband and fiber. So this might be an additional process we could pursue along with the association's backing for that.
Now, what this would, it won't be like a personal, what we were talking about having a local bill, but obviously it'd be something that the association can vote on, that they will, if it's
Yep.
approved there, then they would know when they're down in the legislature, if that comes up, how they should react for its membership. But I will tell you, that's already one of the top priorities.
Yeah.
With the association, so.
Yep, has been.
So that's one of the directions. Is there anything else from Ms. York?
You think of something else, let them know.
Yeah, that's what I was
Okay.
getting ready to say. If you can think of something else you'd like, move forward, please let her know. We'll get together on those. We approved those before you send them up, correct?
Right, we can do it by a resolution of the board, which I could have on your next agenda, or we can send a letter that the chairman sends on behalf of the entire board.
I think
So-
if you get nothing else besides the fiber stuff, you just do a letter.
Okay.
Okay. I'll keep you informed then on what I hear from each of
You
you.
think of something else now that's
Yeah.
burning, say so, because it may be something we hadn't really thought of, but with all the push down from the legislature on top of us, if you see something else that's really bothering you, say so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman's report, I spoke out earlier about the insert that we had in our tax bill, and thank you, Sybil. I didn't know you had done that. I was going to give kudos to the tax department, but I guess I can just pull those back. The 98% was good, though.
Almost 99.
Almost 99. The other thing, and I apologize, I left my paper at the
Forward on those
house.
Comments.
I was just going to make sure that we gave recognition to our finance department, because they were recognized through the state audit board Is that what they're considered?
It's through the local government.
There it is. Okay, thank you.
It's for the Government Finance Association for their.
Thank you for having that
audit
for
and
me.
CAFR.
She's got my back. I'd like to read this, but it was basically giving them kudos for a great job. It says, Mr. Kendrick, we're pleased to notify you that your comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year 2017 qualifies for the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and finance reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by the government and its management. So, thank you guys. If we could post this on the board for recognition.
It's like the 50th one, isn't it?
Yes.
Keep doing a good job.
We have a great finance team.
So that's it for the chairman's report. Manager?
Yes, sir.
How about Mr. Jeffers?
Just environmental committee put up a anti-litter display at the library. I think it'll be up there for the month of August. So if you buy there, go by there and look at that. The environmental committee are looking at a lot of different ways to combat litter. And so I know at the meeting before last, we had the sheriff department in the city of Roxborough kind of come and explain some of the laws to us as far as if you report somebody, if you see someone littering, what do they do if they catch someone littering, those type of things. And so I know that's going to be a focus for them this coming year, and maybe coming back to the board with some ideas on some Saturday cleanups or something like that around the county. And then we want to congratulate Carol Thomas, who retired from the Department of DSS. And so we have some openings up there. So if you know anybody looking and qualified, please send them that way. And we have an ice cream social at the end of the month in wave of the Department of Social Services board meeting for that month that we do every year as a morale booster for those employees up there. So I'll get you all the date and invite you to come have some ice cream with us. And that is paid for by the board. The DSS board buys the ice cream and the topping that there's 5 of us, we split that and do that for the employees.
Mr. Clayton?
All of you all sitting out here in the audience tonight, and ever who's real bored and still listening to us, we had some boards and things here that nobody applied for. So, you know, if you're interested in doing something or serving, and you want to get your foot in the door, get one of these that nobody's applying for, because you don't really have a lot of competition if nobody else applied for it. So,
Come to the meeting, just get put on like
and
y'all.
unless you're on your application, you committed a crime, we probably will appoint you. So, you know, take an interest in the county. Don't wait till you get a controversy before everybody wants to get on one board because something controversial is going on. But so if you're interested in starting, getting your foot in the door, that's a good way to do it.
Mr. Berger?
I just want to commend Person Industries. They had a hot dog fundraiser a couple of weeks ago, and I had an opportunity to attend that, and it was very well done, and had a chance to socialize and get to know some of the employees, as well as take a few hot dogs to my employees back at the bank. So, but it was very well done. So, wish them congratulations on a successful event.
I know they were cold by the time you got back to Brownwood County. I know they were cold by the time
I was
you got
working.
back to
I was working in Roxborough that day, right across the street.
And Vice Chairman, we'll finish up with you.
I'll go along with what Jimmy said about these boards, and I know Ms. Reeves and I have talked quite a bit over the last probably month, and I don't know why that bothered me so much to see these vacancies. These are important boards, and what Mr. Clayton is talking about there is a good comment. But these are important boards. If we don't need them, we need to take them off the list. But they are important. They are functional. But when we have those that are just heavily laden with vacancies, it bothers me. So I've been beating the bushes, for lack of better words, for about a month now, and making these calls, and several of those were on there. I think all but maybe one, and still have a couple of others that are pending. And so I hope to shore those up and get some more added in there before our next meeting. So.
And I can attest that Gordon has been beating the bushes. He's been working on people. So.
yeah, the rec board too, we did change our meeting date to the first Tuesday of the month at 6:30. Remember I brought that up. There was a concern for us getting members because we were meeting the first Wednesday church night, and then at 5 o'clock 5:30, so we did change that to, we're gonna try it for, I think, 6 months or so. First Tuesday of the month, 6:30.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I'd entertain a motion to enter into closed session per general statute 143-318.11A3 for the purpose to consult with the county attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege with the following individuals permitted to attend: County Manager Heidi York, Clerk to the Board Brenda Reeves, County Attorney Ron Aycock, and Assistant County Manager Sybil Tate. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion to go into closed session. Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Make sure we tell Dr.